It was 2 o'clock in the morning. A cold wind swept through a quiet Long Island neighborhood, and the sound of a truck engine hummed softly down the street. The driver kept the headlights dim, hands gripping the wheel, heart pounding like a drum. He was on a mission, not one of rage, but of poetic justice. When he reached her driveway, he smiled. There it was, the house of the woman who'd made his wife's life miserable for years. The woman who could buy herself a $400 antique lamp, but couldn't drive 30 minutes to see her own grandkids. Tonight, Karma was coming home. If you've ever dealt with a toxic in-law who thinks the world revolves around them, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready. Because this isn't just petty revenge. It's poetic, calculated, and perfectly legal justice served cold at 2 a.m. The black hole of misery. To everyone who knew her, she was simply the black hole. A woman who could walk into a room full of laughter and drain every ounce of joy out of it in seconds. She wasn't just negative, she was entitled, manipulative, and narcissistic in every possible way. And for years, her son-in-law tried to tolerate her, for his wife's sake, for peace, for the kids. But every family gathering was the same. She'd criticize the food, complain about the weather, and find new ways to make everything about her. It wasn't just annoying, it was exhausting. She was a black hole of misery, and everyone had learned to orbit around her chaos, just to survive. Thankfully, she lived on Long Island, far enough away that visits were rare. She refused to drive off the island, claiming she was too nervous to travel. But somehow, she'd driven all the way to Connecticut to pick up an antique lamp from an auction. A lamp she didn't even need. Her son-in-law couldn't help but laugh. "She'll drive for a lamp," he muttered, "but not for her grandkids' birthdays." Still, life was peaceful without her. That peace lasted for 5 long, beautiful years, until the cabin. The cabin in the woods. When his wife's uncle decided to sell his upstate cabin, a rustic home on 17 acres surrounded by quiet forest, they jumped at the chance. It wasn't fancy, but it was perfect. There were old tools, a couple of weathered sheds, and 2 vintage Ford tractors. During the sale, they made it clear. All contents convey. Everything on the property was theirs. The uncle didn't care about the tools, the tractors, or the old equipment. It was part of the deal. For the first time, they had a place to escape. No in-laws, no drama, no black holes. Just family, peace, and fresh mountain air. But peace never lasts long when a narcissist thinks something belongs to them. The call from hell. It started with a phone call. Her shrill voice cut through the air like nails on a chalkboard. "I want my stuff back," she snapped. "What stuff?" his wife asked, confused. "The chainsaws. One of the tractors, the red one. And that shop vac. It all belonged to my brother before he died. It's mine now." There was a pause. His wife blinked, speechless. The cabin had been in the family for years, but her uncle had sold it legally. Everything on that property was theirs. Still, she tried to be diplomatic. "You should have picked it up before we bought the place," she said softly. But the older woman wasn't listening. She started threatening them. "If you sell my stuff, I'll sue you." Her son-in-law clenched his jaw. Sue them? For junk she never used, never cared about, and couldn't even name properly? That was the moment something inside him snapped. 5. The breaking point. His wife was upset, not because of the threats, but because she still wanted to keep some peace. He told her, "Don't worry. I'll handle it." And he meant it. The following weekend, they drove up to the cabin. He rolled out the old tractor from the shed, the one that barely ran, and began piling together all the tools she claimed were hers. A dusty chainsaw, a rusted toolbox, a vacuum that hadn't been used in a decade. When his wife saw him loading everything, she sighed. "What are you doing?" she asked. Just putting your mom's stuff together," he said casually. "So we can give it to her, or sell it. But it's gotta go." She shrugged. "Whatever. Leave it outside if you want." But that night, as everyone slept, he wasn't thinking about leaving it outside. He was planning a delivery. 6. Operation Midnight Delivery. At exactly 1:45 a.m., he crept outside. The air was cold, and the only sound was the chirping of crickets. He hitched the trailer to his truck, wincing every time the metal clinked. Then, one by one, he loaded the tractor, the toolbox, the shop vac, and the rest of her belongings. The tractor didn't even run. He had to winch it onto the trailer, every crank echoing in the still night air. He worked like a thief, but this wasn't theft. This was justice. By 2 a.m., he was on the road, 2.5 hours of silent satisfaction ahead of him. Every mile felt better than the last. He was grinning like a maniac. When he pulled into her neighborhood, he slowed to a crawl. It was quiet, perfect. No lights, no witnesses, just karma rolling into her driveway. He backed the trailer up like a pro, right next to her car. The ramps came down, the tractor rolled off, and the tools were placed neatly beside it. Then came the piece de resistance, a giant wooden crate packed with all her junk. He gently set it beside the tractor, wiped his hands, and whispered, "You wanted it? You got it." Then he was gone. 7. The morning after. By sunrise, he was halfway home, giggling like a serial killer. When his wife called at 5:45 a.m., he told her, "Just getting breakfast." He stopped for bagels, coffee, and donuts, laughing the whole time. When he got home, she asked why the trailer was still hooked up. He shrugged. Didn't feel like unhooking it. And then they waited. 8 a.m., nothing. 8:30, still nothing. 9:15, ring. His wife rolled her eyes. "Ugh, it's her." He gestured. "Answer it." The moment she picked up, the phone exploded with screaming. He calmly walked over, put the phone on speaker, and said, "You wanted your tractor, you got it." Then hung up. Silence. And then laughter. Pure, uncontrollable laughter from both of them. The police call. By 1 p.m., his phone rang again. A Long Island police officer introduced himself. He sighed. Here it was. "Sir, your mother-in-law says you dumped property on her driveway," the officer said. "That's her stuff," he replied calmly. "She wanted it," the officer asked. "Ma'am, is that your tractor?" she yelled. "Yes, but I don't want it here. I want them to take it back." There was a pause. "Do you have any kind of storage agreement?" the officer asked. "No," she snapped. "Then it's your problem," he said flatly. The officer realized exactly what kind of person he was dealing with, and wanted no part in it. The call ended. No charges. No trouble. Just peace, for once. She didn't talk to them for 6 months. 6 beautiful, quiet, drama-free months. And in those 6 months, they built their new garage, right where her precious tractor used to sit. He'd delivered everything she wanted, and taken back his peace. Collision climactic revenge payoff, 5 to 7 minutes. The image of that tractor sitting next to her shiny new car, blocking her driveway, covered in grease and dirt, was the most satisfying thing he'd ever seen. The thought of her stepping outside, gasping in horror, realizing she finally gotten what she asked for, priceless. He didn't just get revenge, he got silence. And for him, silence was golden. In life, some people mistake kindness for weakness. They think they can demand, manipulate, and threaten, and you'll just give in. But every person has a breaking point. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't shouting or fighting. It's giving people exactly what they asked for, and letting karma do the rest. If this story made you laugh or gave you chills, smash that like button and share it with someone who's ever dealt with a toxic in-law. Tell us in the comments, what's the pettiest but most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And of course, subscribe for more true stories of karma, chaos, and justice served cold.